The Toronto Raptors clearly have some glaring holes with their roster, but with potentially 3 picks in the upcoming NBA draft, they have a major opportunity to address them. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at 3 different players in 3 different regions of the draft that Masai Ujiri's front office could consider to change the Raptors for the better in 2024. Let's get into it. If you don't already know, this is Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel completely dedicated to providing you with Toronto Raptors news coverage, analysis, and draft coverage in videos just like this, as well as live streams on the channel. If you like what you see from today's video, then first of all, make sure you do hit the like button, and second of all, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'm going to keep you updated on all Raptors news and draft analysis leading up to that draft in 2024, all throughout the offseason, so keep it locked with Amateur Hour Sports and help us on the road to 17,000 subscribers. But for today's video, what we're going to be doing is looking through the 3 different locations in which the Raptors could actually be drafting in the upcoming draft. They already have the Indiana Pacers pick, which is going to be in the middle of the first round. Could be a very late lottery pick, could be just outside the lottery, right in the middle of that first round. The Raptors also have the 2024 second round pick from the Detroit Pistons, so that is likely going to be either a 31st overall pick or a 32nd overall pick, but that top 6 protected pick sent over to the San Antonio Spurs also has, at the current standings, where the Raptors are, bottom 6 in the NBA standings, the Raptors have a 45% chance of keeping that pick and drafting in the top 6. So we're going to be looking at a player near the top of the draft. The Raptors could select in the top 6. We're going to be looking at a player the Raptors could select in the middle of the first round. And we're also going to be looking at a player the Raptors could draft in the 31st or 32nd positions. And actually, for the common viewer, that second round pick might actually be the most exciting. So make sure you stick around to that point in the video. But we're going to get started with the top 6 overall pick. Now, even though the Raptors with a bottom 6 record only have a 45% chance of keeping their pick, like 45 is still decent, 45% chance of keeping the pick, that is higher than the probability the Raptors had of actually making the playoffs given the injuries going on. So tanking was the right decision for the Raptors, whatever the outcome of the draft lottery is. But as far as the draft lottery is concerned, 45% chance of the top 6 pick actually gives us a relatively small chance of ending up exactly with the 6th overall pick in the draft. The Raptors cannot have the 5th overall pick. It is impossible with the current position, but they also have certain opportunities to end 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in the draft. But overall, here's a player that I've seen stamped pretty much all over the top 10 of the NBA draft, typically within the 2 to 6 range where the Raptors could be selecting a scenario, and that player is Kentucky guard Rob Dillingham. Now, Rob Dillingham has been a player that I have been very interested in over the last few months with Kentucky this season. He has produced some very good numbers, but mostly what I'm concerned about in this position is the Raptors addressing one of the biggest needs for the team. This has been a need for the team for like 3 or 4 years, and they still haven't addressed this. If they end up with a top 6 pick, there is a massive opportunity for the Raptors to address the overall guard depth with the team. Immanuel Quickley, when he has missed some games recently, there's been no point guard to play in his place. Like, we've been using Javon Freeman-Liberty, pretty much a G League player, starting some games. Bruce Brown started a game or a few games in the point guard position. And with Scotty Barnes out, he's not a point guard. Obviously, he can do a job in those positions. But regardless, the Raptors seriously need to address the guard depth issue. And bringing in a player like Rob Dillingham, not only would that address the guard depth issue, that injects a whole ton of talent into this team. What Rob Dillingham brings to the team as a 6'3", 6'4" combo guard is a good level of athleticism. Plays really well on the perimeter, is really efficient in knocking down threes, and quite efficient on the inside as well. He kind of gives me the vibe of a Colin Sexton or Kyrie Irving type of player. I know, we're contrasting some abilities there, but Colin Sexton is putting on a great season. Regardless, what this player brings is just this great level of athleticism and this great level of finishing on the inside. Has a lot of different tools in his arsenal as far as a layup package is concerned, so can go among some taller players, can get himself in the paint and finish in various different ways, which could trend up nicely at the NBA level. As far as his shooting on the outside is concerned, good pull-up three-point threat, good shooting threat in general. And as a playmaker, though there has been some conversations around his playmaking maybe not being the greatest, has been slighted potentially in the past as a player who is a shoot-first sort of mentality. That being said, produced a good level of assists in his season with Kentucky this season. The only thing that might knock some of his draft credibility to some people, well, for starters, his defense, he's not the biggest of players, doesn't have the biggest of frames. that could certainly be an area of concern. And he's not the most twitchy athlete for his size. That being said, to me, a good athletic player. Where some people could knock him as well is his NCAA tournament production. Well, Kentucky got knocked out in the first round, the round of 64 once again, and Rob Dillingham, along with fellow potential lottery pick Reed Sheppard, did not play well at all in that game. But for Rob Dillingham, I mean, I think he's going to end right around the 6th position in the draft, but I've seen him in multiple mock drafts as a top 2 pick. I've seen him as a top 3 pick, but I've also seen him as the 9th overall pick. Overall, the Raptors in this position, Rob Dillingham could bring a lot. I'd be very interested in him right at the top of this NBA draft class for the Raptors to consider taking. So let's go now to the middle of the NBA draft and talk about what the Raptors could be doing with this Indiana Pacers pick. Now, if things go well for the Raptors, the Indiana Pacers go into the play-in tournament, and who knows if they get Miami or Philadelphia in the first round of that play-in tournament, they're likely going to be underdogs, and they fall into the second game of the play-in tournament. Who knows, in one game against the Chicago Bulls or the Atlanta Hawks. They could fall out of the play-in tournament, fall out of the playoffs altogether, and all of a sudden that pick is a lottery pick. But right around the 14 to 17 range is where we should be expecting this Indiana Pacers pick to fall. And a player that I have been a fan of for a number of months as well in this position is Dalton Knecht out of Tennessee. Tennessee has been a really fruitful endeavor as far as the transfer is concerned for Dalton Knecht this season, and has just continuously improved and improved and has improved his draft stock. He's had not sort of a traditional route to getting towards the NBA. Had a couple seasons in junior college, had a transfer, had a couple seasons with Northern Colorado, and now playing in his super senior year with Tennessee. Dalton Knecht has added on a lot of tools to his game. He's profited very mightily from a growth spurt. Is about 6'6", looks to have about a 6'10", 6'11" wingspan, but he can play as a shooting guard, and because of his size, he can also play up at the 3 position and play as more of a small forward. But what Dalton Knecht brings to the team, a certain level of athleticism, but he is a good shooter. Shoots around 40% from 3 this season. That trends to be a pretty good 3-point percentage as far as the NBA is concerned, but does well with the ball in his hands as well. Gets to the rim really well, finishes at the rim with a good degree of efficiency to go with it, is a decent playmaker, but overall, a tight ball handler, a good shooter, good at finishing on the inside, has a good level of athleticism to go with himself as well. Where there might be some hindrances to his game is the fact that he's maybe not the most astute defender. His size does allow him to be a good defender, but based on his size and the athleticism that I've alluded to, there should probably be some better metrics associated with his defense and overall some better defensive performances that have come out of the player, but that is a certain level of concern. But with the upside offensively and the size in general, I think you can work on the defensive end and forgive a lot of it for what he does bring to you on the offensive end. Now, what you could also get from Dalton Knecht here that might provide you some concerns as well. As I said, he's a super senior. He's playing in his 5th year of university ball. He's almost 23 years old already and will be 23 by the time the NBA draft rolls around. So this is the type of player that needs to be effective in the NBA from day one. But the reason I like this player and feel as though this could be a solid pick in the middle of the first round is I believe he's ready to affect the NBA from day one, because I think this is a player that could definitely be effective in a scaled down sort of role. His skill set, the way he finishes on the inside, his smarts, he's a good cutter. I think this trends very nicely as a player who can play without the ball in their hands with a great degree of effectiveness. That's what you're really looking for with a lot of these players at this particular point in the draft. Like, obviously, it'd be great to have the lead sort of player, but the players who really make a name for themselves in the NBA and succeed in the NBA are those who can thrive even when the ball is not in their hands consistently. I think that one of the reasons that I'm very interested in Dalton Knecht is that he does, to me, trend upward as a player in a scaled down role who can be very effective off ball in catch and shoot situations, coming off of screens to the right, whether that be to hit a shot, whether it be to take the ball, drive on the inside, and get himself to the rim. So even though I understand the concerns about drafting a player of that age, he should come into the NBA as an NBA-ready player to affect the Raptors from day one and help propel this rebuild sort of phase for the team. The Raptors, as much as it's good to have young players, as much as it's good to have development, it's good to inject talent into this team right away. And we saw with Jaime Jaquez Jr. this season with the Miami Heat, just because you're a senior player coming into the NBA as one of the older players, you can still have a great degree of effectiveness from day one for your team. I think that's what Dalton Knecht could bring to the Raptors. Overall, I've seen him all over draft boards. Like previous months, I've seen him just around the middle of the drafts. I've seen him 18th, 15th, 14th, but I've actually seen some mock drafts lately have him even higher than where Rob Dellingham is projected to be. So if the Raptors truly are interested, maybe they could look with one of those high-tier lottery picks if they do have that one. It doesn't convey for the San Antonio Spurs. Personally, I'd pass in that region, but middle of the draft, if he's available with that Pacers pick, absolutely would be happy to see Dalton connect in a Raptors jersey next season, which brings us to that very early second-round pick. And this one might be a little bit controversial as well with what I'm going to say about the player, but in this position, if Zach Edey, Canadian center for Purdue, is available, this is one that the Raptors should definitely consider here. This is likely not one that I'm going to be considering in the middle of the first round. I kind of alluded to my concerns around Zach Edey in the previous video where I said, look, I understand the size. I'm not suggesting that his size is the reason that he's good. It obviously helps, but he's a smart player. He's a good player, uses his size very effectively to get in positions at the rim, finishes at the rim quite well, but when it comes to actually moving NBA centers, a lot of which match similar in sort of frame with the type of bigs that are entering the NBA and succeeding in the NBA right now. And defensively, I'm just very concerned about the speed, and I'm very concerned about the lateral quickness. I believe Zach Edey can find success in the NBA, but not enough for me to believe that a first-round pick should be used on him. However, with the upside available for the player around 31st, 32nd in the draft, I think that there is and should be a desire for the Raptors to look at Zach Edey very strongly in this position. Because at the very least with Zach Edey, the minimum you're going to get is a specialist sort of player you can bring in certain settings. He clearly is a very strong rim protector, and with his size, he's always going to be able to carve out an opportunity here or there on offense. So at the very worst for the player, he can have a specialist sort of role in your rotation to play in those rim protection spots, to play in those offensive spots. But as far as Zach Edey, we're going to do a deep dive on the player in the next video on this channel. We're going to kick off our complete draft profile coverage for various players the Raptors could end up drafting in the 2024 class. We do so many each season. They're probably my favorite pieces of content to create, sharing the information I have on these players with people who really want to learn about it and really want to see who the Raptors might be drafting in 2024. It might just be Zach Edey with that early second-round pick via the Detroit Pistons. So keep a lookout for the next video when we're discussing Zach Edey, but keep a lookout for all the great content coming at you on this channel, in videos and in streams, and it's all Raptors all the time right here on Amateur Hour Sports. Keep a lookout tomorrow. We're going to celebrate hitting 17,000 subscribers with a jersey giveaway. 2 Raptors jerseys, not 1, 2 Raptors jerseys being given away into the community, one by myself, one by community member at 905 Yada. I'm gonna have a video coming out tomorrow with the complete instructions on how you can enter that giveaway. So keep it locked, drop a like, get subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you again very soon for the giveaway details and the Zach Edey draft profile.